So I was trying to think of the best way to put this whole thing together as I was mapping it out. And the only thought that kept coming back into my head was tell your story. So here it goes. Ever since I was a young kid, probably about 9 or 10 years old, I absolutely loved music, right? My mom used to drive around in a little suburb called Norcross, Georgia, inside of Atlanta. We lived there. My parents were pastoring there and we were trying to get some things going. And so my mom would drive around when she was making her rounds and she'd be blasting jazz. And I just loved it. And so I would just be jamming, singing to it, and it created this love and this passion for me for rap, for singing, trying to make beats and really just dive into the whole world of music. And so for the next several years of my life, I was entrenched in it, man, whether it was in bands, choir, anything to involve music, I was there. And so it was about 2016 that I walked away from what I was doing and pursue music full time. And I didn't really know how to do that. I was scared because the financial implications, walking away from a good job and trying to pay the bills making music, it seemed like crazy to me. And so I walked away from my job and went to pursue music. And for the first 2 years, it was incredible. Everything lined up perfectly. I mean, I was getting hit up by bigger artists who were collaborating with me, putting me on their tracks, vice versa, getting on mine. I was getting to go out and do shows, venues and churches and all these different places opening up for me. And it was unbelievable. Even on the secular side, I had promoters hitting me up to come and perform and open up for people like the Migos and just different things just opening up for me. It was a blessing. And it wasn't until about the end of year 2 that I finally connected with 4 different labels, 3 of them secular, 1 of them Christian. The first 2 we talked, kind of negotiated into the ground, didn't really go anywhere. The 3rd label, we talked, but because of what they wanted me to do creatively, like barring me in and not letting me express myself, my faith, we decided to kind of cut ties and move in a different direction. So the last label was the biggest name in Christian hip hop, who I'm sure y'all are aware of. You can kind of figure it out. We negotiated, talked, connected. I went out, met with them. They offered me a contract and we're about to sign it, but I wanted to get some certain things lined up for myself and for my family, which I felt were important. So during the process of taking a long time to negotiate, they went ahead and signed somebody else. It wasn't personal. It was just a business move. And we were going to connect back up, but we never quite did because life and seasons move you in different places sometimes. But I wasn't tripping about it because I had had so much success in those first 2 years being independent that I felt I don't really need a label. I can just move on my own and do this and just see the success by myself without sharing any of these percentages with anybody. So I went ahead and did that. And I had this huge project ready to release. We had it packaged up, made everything roll out. It was crazy the way I envisioned it, putting it all together. We went to this new marketing company, paid them a bunch of money, and we were ready to roll. Well, as we were getting ready to release it, I felt like they flopped it. And I'll never let anybody else take responsibility or the fall for my own work. I take full responsibility for it, but it fell. And so financially, immediately began to struggle. Well, it wasn't seeing the same amount of money coming back in. And so bills were piling up. I was getting, the pink slips from the utility companies. My electricity was one payment away from getting shut off. My water actually did get shut off, like the heater, the heated water, the gas. And we're just trying to scramble and get all this stuff figured out, situated, and nothing seemed to be working. And it was just a really, really bad time. While this was happening simultaneously, I get an eviction notice from my landlord because I was 2 months out. So I'm waiting on God and I'm like, God, where are you? You said you were going to lead me out here to do this. And opportunities aren't really coming through the way that I thought they were going to, the way that I figured you would do this. Where are you at? I took matters into my own hands. I went to this distribution company, offered them some of my back catalog and a couple new songs upcoming that I was getting ready to do, gave them this percentage. They came in and drafted up this crazy contract, but I didn't even look at it because I just needed the money. So I signed off on it. They gave me this lump sum of cash and I dispersed it to these different places that I needed to, but it still wasn't enough, guys. So I'm still struggling. And these guys now have this huge portion of my contract, my percentage of my music, which I'm not even probably going to see now for 2-3 years. And with all this happening, I go a couple months, I get another eviction notice. And I'm like, God, I can't do this anymore. This isn't going to work for me. I remember walking outside my house one day and I was going to go get a coffee and just try to strategize on everything, figure it out. I go outside. Lo and behold, my car is gone. got repossessed. And right then and there, man, I just looked up to the sky and I was just like, I remember just cursing. And I was so mad at God because I'm like, why would you bring me to this place if you were going to let this happen? If you knew this was going to happen to me, why would you even do this to begin with? And I was like, man, I'm stressed out. I know my wife's stressed out. We got babies to feed. How are we going to do this now? I got to go back to work and I'm doing these odds and ends, right? I'm doing Uber Eats and all this other stuff to try to make ends meet. I'm applying for jobs and it seems like nothing's coming through for me. And I was just in this rut, man, just stuck. And God reminded me of something. He reminded me, I told you I was going to get you there. But when you try to do things and operate in your own timing and in your own way, it's never going to work out. If you trust me, I can get you there. But if you don't, and you lean on your own understanding and your own ways, it's never going to work out. And I remember right there, man, it just hit me. And I repented and I said, God, forgive me for stepping out and to try to make this thing on my own. Help me humble my pride. And lo and behold, God began to work things out and change my situation. I was told by God to do something and that he was going to get me to a place. But because of the situations, the obstacle, the mountain that was in my way, I took it into my own hands to make it happen instead of just being patient and having faith. I'm still 100% independent, but I've learned through the struggles and through those things that it is a journey of life. And through that journey, you got to learn patience. You got to learn faith. You got to learn to trust. And so I just wanted to share that with y'all, man, give you a little intro into Joey Vantes, who I am, where I come from, how it happened, and just tell you guys that I thank you so much for your support. Every time you stream the music, every time you watch a video, every time you buy a piece of merchandise, you're literally supporting something that God intended and purposed. And so I'm just so grateful to all you guys. Thank you for being here. Share this. Welcome to the Legend community. Love y'all.